That's a record.
Is it?
43.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is going to be fun. The old guard versus the new guard, the two faces of the league. Max Kellerman, tell me this. Do you think Brady versus Mahomes would be the best Super Bowl matchup we could have?
No, I don't think it would be the best. I get it's a changing of the guard, the most famous against the best. But no one considers Brady in Mahomes' category right now. He's not in his league right now. No one, when you talk about the most talented quarterbacks, or forget about that, the best quarterbacks in football right now, Brady's name hasn't come up in a couple of years. Won last year. Even the year before we won the Super Bowl. Lowest scoring Super Bowl in history. Even then, Brady really wasn't coming up in those conversations. It's been a while, guys. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback I've ever seen. Brady's more famous. He did it for long. But Patrick Mahomes, who do I want to see him play out of the NFC? I'd love to see him link up with Russell Wilson, who, in spite of his recent problems, was putting together early on maybe his best campaign, and over the last half dozen years has been, over that time, the best player in football. Maybe not in any one year, but over that whole time. And has an explosive offense and is tasked with winning shootouts every week and maybe could draw the Chiefs into a shootout. Or how about a team in Brady's own division that's beat him twice and also has a very famous quarterback, which would be a bigger story because Brees would be coming back from injury in likely his last chance, and he's loaded maybe with his best overall team, maybe that he's ever played on. I'd love to see Drew Brees and the Saints go up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Or how about Stephen A., the quarterback, that bad man who, let's face it, was the baddest man ever at his best until Mahomes came along. Let's see Aaron Rodgers and son of Aaron Rodgers, right? And Aaron Rodgers 2.0 link up in the Super Bowl. I think all those would be more interesting than the remains of Tom Brady, which is still pretty good, on a nice team that's lost to the Saints twice against Mahomes.
Max Kellerman, here's where you and I disagree. First of all, let me just, I hope that your heart is okay. I hope you don't fall and catch a heart attack on national television. I'm not convinced that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. I still believe that to be Aaron Rodgers. Now, Patrick Mahomes might be better at this moment, but I believe that let me see him do it, and I believe he will, but let me see him do it over a long period of time. I believe that with my two eyes, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in NFL history, ever. I'm talking about the combination of throwing, standing still in the pocket, on the run, from the left or the right, scrambling out of the pocket. I think that Aaron Rodgers is the best, most talented, most complete quarterback we have ever seen in the history of the National Football League. That's number one. Number two, though, let me tell you how you're different than me. You're speaking, Max Kellerman, as a commentator and a pundit, and I totally get that. I understand that because that's the seat we're sitting in. My eye, however, is, remember, I'm a journalist too. I was a journalist and I became a columnist for Philadelphia Inquirer for 17 years, all of this other stuff. So I'm thinking about the storyline. To get to the Super Bowl, imagine what Tom Brady would have to do. Right now, Max, you're right about Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. But the operative word here is Super Bowl matchup. That means once you get through those things, what would the story be? Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, great story, great storylines. They go to the Super Bowl, boom. But what if Tom Brady got there? What if Tom Brady, Molly, shows up and outduels Aaron Rodgers, outduels Russell Wilson in those 2 to 3 weeks that an NFC playoff matchup takes place with Antonio Brown and Evans and Godwin and Gronk? Max, Molly, could you imagine the storyline if he plays lights out for 3 weeks in the postseason? And then you got to face Patrick Mahomes at 43? Mm-hmm. No storyline would beat that.
That was so good.
We look at Russell Wilson, we look at Aaron Rodgers and say, we like it, but those two together, under those conditions, that would be special.
No, I think there's a better storyline than that. Now, I think you left out the most important part.
What is it?
And by the way, first let me say, you can argue Aaron Rodgers is the best you've ever seen in his prime. I first want to say that. You can argue that. Those are the two. I would say if you wanted to improve Aaron Rodgers, you'd give him a little more Favre, but less the turnovers. A little gunslinger, a little bit more team leader type that they rally around. I think that's Mahomes. But okay. The better matchup, Stephen A., first of all, if Brady got there, a lot of it would be about the defense. That's really what would do it, just like it was with the Patriots when he got there against the Rams and beat the Rams.
But that's not what I said.
That would be a big story. The number one story would be
I said if he
the
played
most
lights out.
famous football player, the most famous football player in the world, Tom Brady, the face of the league, passing the torch or trying to defend the crown against the best football player in the world, the future face of the league. That's the storyline there. I got a better one for you. I brought it up before. The New Orleans Saints. Because Brady said he wants to keep playing, right? He wants to play till he's 45. We don't know if Drew Brees is ever going to play again after this season. We weren't sure Drew Brees was going to play this season. They're in the same division, Brady
Good
and Brees.
storyline.
Brees beat him twice. The second time, worse than the first. So one of the most beloved and greatest quarterbacks ever on maybe the best team he's ever played on or the most balanced gets his ribs crashed and crushed and his lungs punctured and comes back in the playoffs and faces
Distant
Patrick
second.
Mahomes.
Sorry, Max.
Listen, Max.
No.
Max,
You're
listen
wrong,
to what
Molly.
I said to you. Listen to what. Hold on, Max. Listen to what I said to you. I understand your point about the defense. I said follow my storyline. If Tom Brady plays lights out in those 2 to 3 playoff games leading into the Super Bowl, there is no storyline that would eclipse that Tom Brady going against Patrick Mahomes. Not Drew Brees, not Aaron Rodgers, not Russell Wilson. Now, the defense played lights out, but Tom Brady struggled. You're right. But I said follow my storyline. Tom Brady plays lights
Tom Brady
out
was someone else,
and then goes to the Super Bowl against Mahomes. There is no storyline that comes close to that.
Yeah.
None.
Stephen
Max,
A.,
let me just say one more thing to you, too. I understand the Drew Brees one. Let me get in here real quick, Max. It's a distant second, but what was the storyline all offseason? Who's going to win? Is it Belichick or is it Brady? If Brady comes in and dominates and wins a Super Bowl, that's a whole other storyline. We debate that often. What's the Patriots dynasty about?
But you see what you guys
so
are
there's
doing?
that whole other piece. And Brady's way more box office than Drew Brees. Sorry. He's a bigger name.
You see what you... Actually, the highest-rated Super Bowl, as I recall, was the Drew Brees Super Bowl, right after Katrina.
He's a bigger
Wasn't that the
name,
highest-rated
Max.
Super Bowl?
That was
Like,
Peyton
Drew Brees was
Manning.
very, very popular.
That was Peyton Manning, Max.
Let me just say, all right, maybe. Drew Brees Super Bowl was very, very highly rated. Let me just say that what you guys are saying is if Brady does this, you mean if he was someone else? I know he has a lot of weapons, but Brady hasn't played lights out in consecutive playoff games in years. Like, he couldn't beat the Dolphins last week of the season.
A few weeks
and
ago,
then lost
Max,
to the Titans last year.
A few weeks ago, you were complimentary about Brady and how he was playing. You were very complimentary about Brady and how he was playing.
He can have 1 or 2 nice games. Has he had 4 consecutive games this season where you're like, oh my God, that's Brady lights out? And he's got every weapon in the world.
What if he had 3 going into the Super Bowl against Mahomes?
If you're right, if Brady does all that, then you'll be right. I'm saying he ain't going to do it.
We do have to go. All right, we'll leave it there. When we come back here on First Take, you saw Southern Steve to start the show. Cowboys stink it up on Thanksgiving. Does Mike McCarthy